Welcome to Divine Discussions with Chief Apostle Veronica Yisrael, the podcast where we explore the profound mysteries of spirituality, history, and the human soul. I'm your host, Chief Apostle Veronica Yisrael, and I invite you to join me on a journey of enlightenment and discovery. At Divine Discussions, our mission is to uncover the hidden truths of spiritual knowledge, challenge traditional narratives, and empower you to connect with the divine within. Each episode, we delve into the rich tapestry of spiritual traditions, historical events, and personal experiences that shape our understanding of the divine. Whether you're a seasoned spiritual seeker, a curious skeptic, or someone in between, this podcast is your sanctuary for open-minded exploration and growth. Together, we'll navigate the intersections of faith, reason, and personal experience, striving to cultivate a deeper, more authentic connection with the divine. So take a deep breath, open your mind, and prepare to embark on a transformative journey with us. Welcome to Divine Discussions with Chief Apostle Veronica Yisrael, where every episode is a step towards greater spiritual awareness and empowerment. And welcome. Namaskar, beloved community. I behold the God, the good in each of you. And welcome to Divine Discussions with Chief Apostle Veronica Yisrael, where we explore the profound spiritual truths and their impact on our lives. I'm your host, Chief Apostle Veronica Yisrael, and today we're diving into a profound and deep into the concept of sin consciousness and its origins, how it affects us every single day of our lives, and the transformative power of Christ consciousness and how to embrace Christ consciousness. So this title of this episode is titled From Sin to Self-Worth, Embracing Christ Consciousness for a Paradigm Shift. Sin consciousness has been a persuasive theme in many religious teachings, often leading to feeling of guilt, shame, and unworthiness. But what if there was a higher perspective, a consciousness rooted in love, freedom, and self-respect? This is what Christ consciousness is. This is what Christ consciousness offers to us. So let's embark on this journey together today, exploring the depths of these concepts and uncovering how they can transform our lives. Now we want to get a grasp on understanding what Christ consciousness or sin consciousness. Before we get into Christ consciousness, let's get a grasp and a hold on what sin consciousness really is. As I often say, a lot of times when we come to the table to have conversations, oftentimes if we don't have a common understanding of what the topic is and what these words mean, we can kind of like be missing each other. So being able to find it and agree on a definition helps us to be able to deep dive into the conversation with an understanding. So to fully grasp the concept of sin consciousness, we first need to understand what sin consciousness is. Sin consciousness is a state of mind where individuals are overly aware of their what is called shortcomings, mistakes, and perceived moral failings. It's the belief that we are inherently flawed and separated from the divine, and that is the crux And that's what causes sin consciousness, is the false belief that we are separate from God, or we are separate from the divine. The origin of sin consciousness can be traced back to various religious doctrines, particularly within Christianity. The story of Adam and Eve. Yes, I said the story of Adam and Eve. In the Garden of Eden is often cited as the point where humanity fell from grace, introducing sin into the world. This narrative has been used for time immemorial to instill a sense of guilt and unworthiness in the believers. As I just mentioned earlier, the concept of original sin or sin consciousness originates from the biblical story of Adam and Eve in the book of Genesis. According to the narrative, God placed Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden and commanded them not to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. However, they were tempted by a serpent, or the serpent, often interpreted as Satan, and ate the forbidden fruit. As a result, they became aware of their nakedness. They became conscious, if you will, and they felt shame, degradation, and ultimately they were expelled from the Garden of Eden. Now, let's first understand that this was a creation story. Many Christians come to a Hebraic text and interpret it in a Western understanding of a Hebrew or a Aramaic scripture. And so that's the first mistake that many people make. In the Jewish tradition, they do not see this story as in something that actually occurred. Only in Western civilization, in Christianity, that they view this in a fundamental and a biblical literist way. So that's first to understand. It was a creation story. The Hebrews' way of trying to understand how the world came into existence and how we got here, trying to explain it. So this is the Hebrews' way, or men's way at that time, trying to understand and explain their connection to the divine and how they believe the world came to be. Always remember that every culture has their own creation story. So theologians, particularly St. Augustine in the 4th and 5th centuries, developed the doctrine of original sin. Before that time, it was not believed, it was not a thing, but as time progressed, the Roman Empire trying to create a centralized religion and using Christianity as that focus to create a nationwide religion. It is simply just what Christian nationalism is. So St. Augustine in the 4th and 5th centuries developed the doctrine of original sin, which says that the sin of Adam and Eve is inherited by all humanity, by all humans. Just by virtue of being born, they are now inherited the sin of Adam and Eve, which is to be believed in a biblical literist way, in a fundamentalist way, as it relates to the Bible, that they were the first humans. But we know that's not true. Adam and Eve, if they even did exist, were not the first humans. The timeline doesn't even match up. So that's number one. This doctrine suggests that all people are born with a sinful nature and are in need of redemption through Christ. So see, if we put bullet holes in the doctrine of original sin, then the whole building of Christianity begins to crumble before your eyes. This belief of original sin has had a profound and continues to have a profound impact and effect on Christian theology, shaping concepts of human nature, salvation, and the need for divine grace. It has influenced how individuals perceive their relationship with God, by all names known, often fostering feelings of guilt, shame, unworthiness, degradation, identity crisis. All of these things are the effect of the Christian doctrine of original sin. So understanding the origin and implication of original sin doctrine provides a critical context for exploring the transformative power of Christ consciousness and its potential to liberate individuals from these burdens. That these burdens really, this concept is someone else's understanding and concept that they spread throughout the religion and spread throughout the world. So somebody may be saying, but how does sin consciousness affect us every day? Well, I'm glad you asked. When we operate from a place of sin consciousness, we are constantly self-critical. Always self-critical, judging ourselves harshly and brashly for our actions and thoughts. You don't never give yourself a break. You put so much emphasis on being perfect and having a perfection complex. These are all things that come from the doctrine of original sin and having a sin consciousness. So these feelings of guilt, shame, and unworthiness, which can manifest in different ways in our life, in each person, and in various ways as it manifests is a fear. The ultimate crux of it is the fear of making mistakes, the fear of failure, a lack of self-confidence, and difficulty in forming healthy relationships. So sin consciousness causes you not to be able to create and foster healthy relationships. Additionally, sin consciousness can create a sense of separation from the divine. When we believe we are inherently sinful, we may feel unworthy of divine love and guidance, that we deserve degradation, we deserve punishment, we deserve poverty, we deserve all of these negative things. And this separation can lead to a spiritual disconnection and a lack of inner peace. This is why so many people have so much unrest and no peace, because they feel that inherently they are bad and they're not good, when that's a fallacy. All of us was created with the divine energy source, God, by all names known, within us. That source within us, guidance within us. We only become separated when we believe the lie that we and the divine are separate, that we and God are not one. Many people do not take time to understand what Yeshua, the master teacher, Yeshua, commonly called Jesus, taught, that I and my Father are one, showing us that we all and the divine are one. We are connected. Everything in life and source is interconnected. We don't have to go looking here, low there, low there. Yeshua even said it. When somebody tell you Oh, look over there, there's the kingdom of God. Oh, look over there, there's the kingdom of God. No, don't go looking nowhere, because the kingdom of God, the divine, is within us. It's within you. Born with it. And it's only until you reconnect to that thought, reconnect to that divine truth, that you really begin to foster your spiritual connection to the divine again. You become reconnected. So let's deal with, we've dealt with sin consciousness and the roots and where it comes from. Let's now deal with Christ consciousness. Let's shift our focus to Christ consciousness. Unlike sin consciousness, Christ consciousness is rooted in love, in unity, and divine connection. It's the awareness of our inherent divinity and the realization that we are one with the divine. We are not separated. So it's only when you believe that in the sin consciousness that you believe you are, something can separate you from the divine. But as the writer says, nothing shall separate me from the love of God, the love of the divine, the love of source. So if nothing can separate you from the divine, even the concept and dogma of sin cannot separate you from the divine. Woo. Well, I know a lot of people not gonna like that. They're not gonna, it's shocking to some people. It causes cognitive dissonance. But it's something that we have to wrestle with. Christ consciousness is not about adhering to a specific religious doctrine or dogma. Instead, it's about embodying the qualities of Yeshua, commonly called Jesus Christ. It's about embodying the qualities he exemplified, which is unconditional love, compassion, forgiveness, and a deep sense of inner peace. It's recognizing that we are all an expression of the divine, capable of living from a place of love and light. That was Yeshua's message. And a lot of people claim to speak for God. A lot of people claim to speak for the divine as their spokesmen for the divine. A lot of people, Christianity at large, claims to be followers of Yeshua or Jesus. But in action, they're not. They're followers of Paul. Because the teachings of Yeshua was all about unconditional love, forgiveness, a sense of deep inner peace, compassion. This is what he was all about. And the only time he got stern and indignant when he was dealing with those Pharisees and Sadducees, those sects of Judaism, those who put more emphasis on rules and regulations and dogma more than the inner consciousness and truth. About loving the divine and loving creation. That's how you truly love God, by being able to love creation, loving everybody you meet, loving yourself. That's why when Yeshua was asked, what's the greatest commandment? He said, love the Lord thy God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul. Which means loving the divine in you. Then it says, the second is like unto love thy neighbor as thyself. This is the greatest thing. Love thy neighbor as thyself, which the implication is that you have a great deal of love for yourself. You understand self-love. You understand about honoring yourself, honoring your body, honoring your divine nature. So loving everybody, loving yourself is the greatest of all commandments. And many people claim to be a follower of Yeshua, but they don't have Christ consciousness and they're not focusing on love of self and love of others. Because many times you cannot. Because if you come from a sin consciousness, you don't understand how to love yourself. You're always in fear of making a mistake. A lot of people in the church, they're afraid of making a mistake because they don't want to die and go to hell. They lack self-confidence. Why? Because they are in fear. Their religious dogma, their whole life is wrapped up in a fear of a place that they were told exists. And they're trying to escape hell. One day I'm going to do a teaching, an episode on where that whole hell thing came from. Where did that start at? And I heard somebody else say something the other day about the rapture. And I said to myself, I'm going to have to do another topic on the rapture. Where do these things come from? And the rapture is a doctrine that is very recent. It wasn't even what the original church fathers even taught and believed about a rapture, everybody getting up out of here. But many times we have been taught these things and we have believed these things, and it has caused us, have put our life in such a disarray. So Christ consciousness is rooted in unity, rooted in love and divine connection. It's the awareness of our inherent divinity and the realization that we are one with the divine. It's not about dogma, creed, but it's about relationship. It's about embodying the principles and the teachings of Yeshua, commonly called Jesus. It's about knowing that everyone, including ourselves, is a divine expression of the divine. And we are capable of living from a place of love and light. So we got to embrace Christ consciousness. Embracing Christ consciousness comes with it involves a paradigm shift. It requires letting go of the belief in our inherent sinfulness and embracing the truth of our divine nature. This shift can be challenging as it involves unlearning deeply ingrained beliefs and patterns of thought. So it's a challenge. Having a paradigm shift from sin consciousness to Christ consciousness is a challenge. Don't let no one fool you. Because many of us have been taught from little babies that we were born in sin and shaped in iniquity. This is what we were taught. So you mean to tell me a beautiful little baby born into the world, a mother or a father or a parent looks at their child in their hand, sometimes small enough to fit in their hand, that this child is sinful, that this child is inherently sinful? That this baby that the mother was in the womb sinful? Do we hear that? Do we really understand what we're saying, what we're hearing, what we're being told across the pulpit? And so these things have been programmed from the ages of 1 to 7. From the ages of 1 to 7 is where the greatest programming happens. people take their children to these Sunday schools, which is a huge mistake, because they are programmed into a system of lies, cause to feel that they aren't perfect and whole as they are, that there's something else that they need to be perfect and whole. You need something outside of yourself to be made complete. This is what is being programmed when they go to Sunday school and on through up, that they got to give their life to another entity. They have to devote their whole life to serving and pleasing a deity, not understanding that source is within you, the divine is within you, and you just have to connect with your higher self in you and devote your life to accomplishing the mission that you have been sent here with. All of us signed a contract for before coming to earth that we will accomplish and we will do certain things. And so the rediscovering that is what we should be doing. Not trying to do all these other stuff because we want to make God happy. The divine is happy when you are focusing on being your authentic self. So we have to unlearn. It's a process of unlearning the programming. What people call deconstructing. Unlearning these programmings, these things that we've been taught, these things that we believed, unlearning that, and then learning divine truth, learning principles of truth, universal laws of truth. So it's very challenging because these things are ingrained in us. These patterns of thought. When you want to go and have a good time, oh, I can't do that. Oh, I don't want nobody to see me. So people are being taught and programmed to live a lie. Oh yeah, programmed to live a lie. To live a double life. All of this comes from sin consciousness. So it's a challenge, but it can be done. It must be done in order to achieve freedom and liberation. However, the rewards of embracing Christ consciousness are very profound. It outweighs the challenges. When we operate from a place of Christ consciousness, we experience a sense of freedom and liberation. We no longer feel burdened by guilt and shame. Instead, we recognize our worthiness and our capacity for divine love. See, once Christ consciousness is in action, we don't consider ourselves that we just a filthy, dirty rag. You know, some of y'all been taught that. Oh, I'm just a filthy, dirty rag. Just think of the cognitive dissonance. Think about that. You, a filthy, dirty rag? You see how that plays on the psyche? Causes people to feel less than? And many people perpetuate these teachings. That if you ain't a part of our group, then you ain't safe. You ain't part of our group, you ain't going to heaven. You ain't part of our group, you can't make it in. It's like a club. A cult. We have to come to a place where we can see that other people's views and things may differ from us, their opinions, their belief system, their faith traditions. But there's only one source. You know, we people, especially in the church, we love to say, there ain't but one God. Well, if it's nothing but one God, then why are you fussing over how other people chooses to serve that one God? Why is there such a problem with other people, their understanding of serving this one God? So a lot of times we say things, but we really don't believe or mean what we say. We just say it. It don't hold no weight with us. And so we have to let that burden go of the guilt and the shame and begin to recognize your worthiness and your capacity of divine love. Now, let's deal with transformation. Let's delve into the transformative power of Christ consciousness. One of the most significant shifts that occur when we embrace this Christ consciousness is a profound sense of freedom. We free ourselves from the chains of guilt, shame, and unworthiness that held us back. We didn't even accomplish what we could have accomplished till now because these old consciousness, low vibrational belief system held us back. You wasn't worth it. You know how people say, I wasn't fit to live and sure wasn't ready to die. You know, all these little catchphrases, all of these are belief systems that's ingrained in us. And when you begin to let that go, this shifts your perception. See, this Christ consciousness frees us. The freedom allows us to live authentically without fear of judgment or condemnation. Some people have been serving, quote unquote, God out of fear. And that's why when they find the truth about the lies that the church have taught them, they abort God altogether. Because why? Those that claim to represent him have kept them in a system of lies. And now they don't want anything to do with the divine or spirituality. But once you let that go, that I don't have to serve anything. The Creator is in me. The divine within me. Source is within me. And when we begin to see ourselves through the lens of love and compassion, recognizing our inherent worth and value, change begins to come. This shifts in perception leads us to increase self-worth and self-respect. Additionally, embracing Christ consciousness allows us to cultivate self-respect. We treat ourselves with kindness and compassion, honoring our needs and our boundaries. A lot of times we in the church, we haven't been taught that. How to honor our own self, respect our own self. You know, a lot of times when somebody say, I've been preaching since I was 6 years old. So I'm not new to this, I'm true to this. So, but we were taught in the church, pride comes before a fall. You got to be humble, humility. Humble is the way. But what I've learned over the years is that we were taught false humility. Woo! Good God. We've been taught false humility, not how to truly be humble. Because if we be honest, most of the people that in the religious culture are the most prideful, puffed up, arrogant people you will ever meet. Because we think because we don't do this and we don't do that, we are above. You see how that religious mentality causes us? I don't smoke, I don't chew, I don't hang with those that do. And that means what? Because once you understand, none of that is, the divine don't care nothing about that. None of that is a quote unquote sin. Anyway, so you have a false sense of superiority. You have a false sense of purity. Causes you to treat people unkind. Why? Because they're not doing things in the way you believe and see it should be done. Some of the people that call themselves Christ-like are the most unlike Christ. Judgmental. Always got an opinion. And a negative one at that. But when you embrace Christ's consciousness, it teaches you how to not be judgmental. Not to sit in the seat of judgment all the time. We begin to see ourselves. And it begin to honor ourselves, honor our bodies, honor our own, learn how to set boundaries. A lot of times we weren't taught how to set boundaries. We just went with whatever somebody said, we went. If you didn't want to go to church that night, you went anyway. Why? Because you didn't want nobody calling you and asking why you didn't come to church. Fear-based. A lot of people, if you miss church, if you come up in the old school like that, when you miss church so many consecutive, the deacons will come around to your house, find out why you didn't come. And back when I grew up, if you didn't come consecutively and you didn't come consecutively and you didn't pay your money, your dues, you were no longer in good standing with the church. And they wouldn't bury you. They wouldn't do your funeral. All of these things, fear-based, to keep us under control. Woo! My. Just thinking about it. Or when you did something that the group think, the church deemed was unforgivable or sinful, they'd make you, embarrass you, degrade you, get up from the pulpit and say all kind of things, slurs about you. And you were expected to sit there and take it. You were expected to sit there and suffer through it. These are the things that we have gone through and many people have gone through. And experiencing Christ's consciousness helps you heal that religious trauma that you experience and teaches you how to set boundaries. I'm not going to let you get up there and just say anything you want to say to me, honey. Ain't happening. I will show out. Luckily, everybody who I ever came in contact was smart enough to know that. I learned that from my mother. My mother she don't care who you are. If you start talking crazy, she gonna talk crazy right back. She gonna show you cannot disrespect people in the name of God and think it's okay. This is what we have. People take these titles and position and they act like they can do and say anything they want. Just add God to it. But Christ's consciousness shifts you and wakes you up to know that I am worthy of respect and I'm going to respect myself. And you are going to respect me too. The internet have caused people not even to understand how to have respect for other people's that opinions differ from theirs. The internet has caused people to think they can get up and anything behind the screen, say anything to people that they would never say in a person's face. This is how religious dogma causes people. It's a hell of a drug that many people are drugged up on. And when they're confronted with truth, they retaliate because they don't want to have to grapple with the thought that I may have been taught and fed and spoon-fed, as I like to use the term, spoon-fed lies from a child up until now. They don't want to admit that. That many things I was taught not even true. Now, before I continue on with this topic here, let me deal with the fake outrage that everybody having about the Olympics. This fake outrage about, they doing the depiction of the quote unquote Last Supper. Well, if we even deal with that truthfully, this quote unquote Last Supper wasn't the Eucharist or communion. Because again, Yeshua, commonly called Jesus, Yeshua ben Yosef, Jesus son of Joseph. Number one, he was Jewish. He was a Palestinian Jew. He was an African from Northeast Africa. So he didn't have communion. That's a fallacy. So it wasn't no Last Supper. If anything, he was partaking in Passover, matzah, unleavened bread, wine. Did I say wine? Wine. Now think about this. This is the cognitive coming. Think about this. Number one, the Leonardo da Vinci picture that many of you have seen hung up in churches, hung up in your house, were a picture of European men. That is not a correct depiction of what really had actually happened. Because these people were black. So that's number one. So if we're really gonna deal with it, let's really deal with it and quit the fake outrage. There are more pressing things if you really want to deal with something. So many of these things that we claim, is an attack on our on a religion is not really an attack. Because if you do a deep dive and find out where it comes from, the people don't want to find the root of it. Let's go to the root of it. Even the picture of Jesus that many of us have grew up with on the walls, in our houses, in the churches. When even the Bible that you were taught from teaches that the character called Jesus couldn't have been that color, couldn't have been white, couldn't have been a depiction of that picture. And here where the cognitive dissonance come in. Oh, it don't matter what color he was. If it didn't matter, why would it be in there? If it didn't matter, why would it say where he was from? If it didn't matter. Let us stop being fooled by the system. Let us stop being fooled by what we've been told and do research for ourselves. Open your mind and think for yourself. Woo. So when we operate from a place of self-worth, we no longer seek validation from external sources. We understand that our worth is not determined by our actions or achievements, but by our inherent divinity. A lot of people believe, I'm a good person because I do X, Y, and Z. I'm a good person because I do X, Y, and Z. Not knowing that your goodness is not predicated on the outward things that you do. Your worth should not be determined by your action, but by what you are within. So when we operate from a place of self-worth, we no longer seek from validation from external forces. A lot of times we've been hooked up through church dogma, feeling that, we're looking for validation. Many of us, if we be honest, we've been taught to seek validation. Let's deal with that. Let's deal with that. Let's deal with seeking for validation. Let me get this right here. Let's deal with seeking for validation. Because a lot of times, if we be honest, that's what we've been taught. To seek validation from other people. We've been taught to seek validation from other people. Not looking within ourselves for validation. We've been taught by the church to look for validation. This is why so many times you have these people that call themselves looking for a spiritual mother and spiritual father. If you do a deep observation and looking at people that always hunting for a spiritual mother and spiritual father, they got mommy and daddy issues. And they haven't sought proper help and therapy to help them work through that. It's okay to look for spiritual guidance that help you guide to get yourself into the place where you need to be so that you can do it for yourself. Having a coach to help coach you in the way to help you be able to stand up on your own and do for yourself. But this is what people call, that's what personally, this spiritual mother father thing, it ain't for me. It may be for somebody, it ain't for me. Being a coach, life coach, spiritual coach, being a mentor, but many times when they've taken this spiritual mother and father thing and they've turned it over and that they're seeking validation. Seeking validation from other people. Want somebody to pat them on the back to say, oh yeah, you good. And because of that, they feel that, they have arrived just because they know a certain name, that name dropping and all that kind of thing. Seeking validation. But see, Christ consciousness, you don't seek for validation outside of yourself from external forces anymore. Because you know your own worth. You know who you are. You don't have to attach yourself to these entities to feel that you are worthy and that you're enough. We understand that our worth, again, is not determined by our action or our achievements, but by our inherent divinity. This realization empowers us to live confidently and authentically, embracing our true selves. Additionally, embracing Christ consciousness allows us to cultivate self-respect. We treat ourselves with kindness and compassion, honoring our needs and our boundaries. Again, as I said, many of us have been taught boundaries, how to set boundaries. We've been taught this to go. When they call and say they need you, go. Even as spiritual leaders, having pastored for years, we've been taught when they call, you gotta go. It wasn't until this one time I was sitting, let me give you an example. Let me give y'all an example. I was in a meeting years ago with the senior bishop, the senior presiding prelate, and I was in a meeting with the diocesan bishop for my congregation's particular region. And the diocesan bishop for my region where my church was located, he said to me and another pastor that was in the meeting, he said, because it was only 4 of us in the meeting, the presiding bishop, the diocesan bishop, me, and another pastor. And he said, y'all can call me anytime, but after 8 o'clock, do not call my phone. Of course, that was a shock to me because I was always taught you got to be ready to serve the people. Whenever they call, you got to be ready to go. But this man, just by him saying that, taught me of how to have boundaries. Because, many of us that grew up in the holiness of Pentecostal movement, pastors were bivocational. We didn't have like office hours and whatnot, so it was just a round-the-clock thing. But with him saying that, don't call after 8 o'clock at night, I got a family and I got to sleep. He taught me by saying that how to put boundaries for yourself. Because if you are not healthy and taking care of yourself, how can you help heal the world? How can you help be of service to people when you yourself have not serviced yourself? You yourself have not taken the time to do what you need to do to be sane and healthy and filled up to the brim, that you can help spread truth and help be a light to others. This is one of the reasons why a lot of children of pastors find it hard to love the God of their parents and to love the members of the church because the parents did not prioritize their family. Another lesson I learned growing up in pastoring, one of the bishops, he said one time, before the Creator calls you to be a leader, first, the Creator knew you had a family. This is for those who came into leadership and ministry after being married and having children. He said, the Creator knew you had a family. And the Creator don't look for you to sacrifice your family for the ministry or for your calling. And many people have not been taught that, how to have balance. Now, I didn't intend to talk about this, but clearly Spirit wants me to talk about this. People have not been taught how to create a balance in life in general, especially when it comes to the religious world. How can you have balance when Sunday morning, you have prayer, Sunday school, church service, afternoon, youth meeting, then Sunday night service, and then we used to have late Sunday night, we used to record for the radio broadcast. Then Monday night, you got choir rehearsal. Tuesday night, you got prayer meeting. Wednesday night, you got Bible study. Thursday night, we over at somebody else's church fellowship and following our pastor. And the choir got to sing because he's preaching or she's preaching. Friday night, you got tarot service. Saturday, you got car wash to raise some money. And back when I was going to early Saturday morning, we had 5 a.m. prayer. Then here come, Sunday, back again. How can you have a balanced life when you're in church all the time? How can you have a balanced life? Many people didn't even take vacations. And when they took vacation time, where did they go? They went to convocation. They went to the convention. They took their vacation time around the organization schedule. That's not balanced, beloved. I've been there, done that. I can tell you about it. And can't nobody convince me otherwise because it's a lived experience. They've not been taught balance. They've not been taught how to set healthy boundaries. You don't just pick up and go every time, because you can't. You can't live a balanced life. A lot of pastors, they'd be out to eat with their spouse, get a call, guess what they do? They jump up, they gone. They jump up and they leave their family to go help somebody else's family. And the children resent the parent because the parent was never there when it counted. Yes, they provide food on the table and all of that other clothes on their back and make sure they had the best education possible. But guess what? You weren't there at the game. You weren't there at this, that, the third. And children resent the God of their parents. They resent their parent and resent the church members. How do you come back from that? Or you praying for your child. But honey, you help put that trauma in that child by not putting your priorities in order. I used to hear this growing up, that your parents is the first God you'll ever see and ever know. They were your creators. They were one that brought you into the world. And it's by their life and their example that you learn how to relate to the world. And a lot of times, the children see that. The children see when the mother and father, or, talking about in that time, my childhood, mother and father argue all the way to church, all the way to temple, all the way to synagogue, mosque, whatever kind of worship you come from. Argue all the way there. And guess what? Then they get out. The children learn how to be fake. Because as soon as they get out, they go back into that facade. They're the first lady and the bishop or the pastor. And the children know that their parents just argued all the way to church. And now you got so much Holy Ghost, laying hands on folks, when your energy ain't even right, because you done argued all the way. Woo! Kind Spirit, help me here today. See, we don't want to hear the truth like that. See, that's where it starts at. My father used to always quote that scripture. Charity begins at home. Charity, love, begins at home and spreads abroad. A lot of times we are not spreading love in the house, the nucleus where it should be, and then you share it out. A lot of times people learn to love everybody else in the outside world, in the church. They're so kind. Some of them, talk about some of these men, some of these male bishops and pastors and elders. They so mean-spirited that they sweet to everybody else's wife but theirs. Woo! Shandidio-sha. Let's speak in tongues on that. They sweet to everybody else's wife. They sweet to everybody else's child. But when it comes to their own child and their own spouse, they are super extra critical. They want them to live up to an expectation that cannot be met. They want them to act like robots. They want their wife, the first lady, to act like nothing matters. The saints can talk about them like a dog, but they're supposed to act like they don't hear it. Let me tell you, I've been there, done that. I can tell you about it. But once you come to a place in Christ consciousness, you say, I got to set a boundary. You got to learn how to take a real vacation with your spouse. It has been reported, a study done on spouses that go and take vacation together, that they are more loving compared to those who don't take vacation together. A lot of times, leaders' marriages end because of them. A lot of these preachers' marriage ended because of them. because they acted as they were married to the church instead of married to their own wife, or vice versa. She was married to her church instead of to her husband. And that's the truth that but sometimes we don't want to admit. That our priorities run together. And you cause your spouse to compete. Yes, you may be called by the divine to do a work, but not at the expense of your spouse and your family. This is the wisdom and balance that many of us have not been taught. And your marriage is then in shambles, and then you want everybody to pray, and then you want to go to counseling. But where was prayer and counseling and wisdom when you were doing all the foolishness? Where was it? Woo! My. Let me move on here so I can get off of here. But when we begin to learn how to set boundaries for ourselves and for others, as a leader, you're called to serve, but it's not a one man or one woman show. That's why you need others that can come around you, that can lift up your arms, that can assist you in serving the community. Because it's a community. It's not about one personality. And when you have it, it's all about one personality. That's why the leader is afraid to take vacation, because they're scared if they don't come, the church going to fall, or somebody going to come and take over. All this type of stuff. Because it starts from within us and in our homes. So learn to put those boundaries in there so you can last longevity. I've seen a lot of young ministers, a lot of young pastors and preachers already burnt out. I started when I was 6 years old. I ain't burnt out because I determined I wasn't going to let none of these folks drive me crazy. Because guess what? They're going to find somebody else to do it. When they done ran you ragged and now they bury you, they will find somebody else. So you have to learn to use wisdom so that you can have longevity. This self-respect that comes from the awareness of Christ consciousness, it extends to our relationships, our family. As we no longer tolerate mistreatment or disrespect from others. A lot of times we've been taught to take disrespect from other people. The preacher get on the pulpit and throw off on you. You just come back, keep coming. And this is the awareness, this consciousness is expanding for people that they're not just taking anything you say anymore. You can't just do anything you want to do to them anymore. Why? Because people are tired of the foolishness. They're tired of the lies. They're tired of the mistreatment. And people are now coming into consciousness that I don't have to take that. I don't have to be disrespected. I don't have to be mistreated. And when you have this Christ consciousness, this awareness of self-respect, you know that you're not going to be disrespected. You're not going to allow that anymore. You're not going to allow mistreatment anymore. And then what happens? Then you learn that you can't do it to other people anymore. This awareness causes you not to apologize when you've done somebody wrong. You know, one of the things that I love to praise and dance like anybody else. But let me tell you one thing I can't take. Is people will be in a religious community with you, a spiritual community, and they will do you wrong, talk about you, dog you out. But guess what happens? After all of that, instead of coming and apologizing, being man and woman enough, human enough, to come and apologize and make things right, you know what they do? They'll come and grab your hands and dance. Unhand me. That's what to unhand me. Get You cannot say things about mistreat me and then instead of apologizing, we're gonna dance over it. No, that's not how it works, baby. And we all got to get into that mindset. That doesn't work. Forgiveness comes after retribution. Forgiveness comes after you've made things right. Do not try to hold my hand, dance with me, unhand me, because guess what? You ain't right. Your spirit ain't right, and the spirit and energy you dancing in ain't right. Because God is love, the divine is love, and all about respect. All right, I've been on here too long. Let me hurry up. Ultimately, Christ consciousness invites us to shift our perspective from fear and separation to love and unity. It encourages us to see ourselves and others as divine beings, interconnected and worthy of love. This shift not only transforms our inner world, but also has ripple effects on our external reality. That everybody's worthy of love. No matter what their background, no matter what their religious persuasion is, their faith tradition, their spirituality, their sexuality, their gender, everybody's worthy of love. And we don't have the right to discriminate love in who deserves it and who doesn't. It's not our place. Now that we've explored the transformative power of Christ consciousness, let's discuss briefly some practical steps to embrace this higher state of being. 6 steps. 1, meditation and contemplation. Spend time in meditation and contemplation, focusing on your connection with the divine. Visualize yourself surrounded by love and light, affirming your inherent divinity. 2, affirmations. Use affirmations to reprogram your mind with positive and empowering beliefs. Examples include, I am a divine being of love and light. Another affirmation, I am worthy of divine love. Another affirmation, I embrace my inherent divinity. These are statements of truth that you have to internalize to help reprogram your paradigm, to shift your paradigm, to reprogram your mindset. Another tool to embrace your higher state of being is 3, self-compassion. Practice self-compassion. Stop being so hard on yourself. Practicing self-compassion by treating yourself with kindness and understanding. Release self-judgment and forgive yourself for past mistakes. Made a mistake? Okay, oh well, learn from it, move on. 4th step is mindful awareness. Cultivate a mindful awareness of your thoughts and your beliefs. When you notice negative or self-critical thoughts, gently redirect your focus to thoughts of divine truth, love, and compassion. The 5th tool and step to shift your awareness and your paradigm, serve others. Service to others. Engage in acts of kindness. And engage in acts of service and kindness towards others. Recognize the divine presence in every person you encounter and treat them with love and respect. Everybody you meet, treat them with love and respect and see the God, the divinity in each one. That's why when I greet people, namaskar, I behold the God, the good in each of you. Another saying, as I grew up, as my pastor would say, and I continue to say it, the presence of God in me loves the presence of God in you. The presence of God in me blesses the presence of God in you. Because each person, you must see that the divinity is in all of us. And so, therefore, they are worthy of good treatment. Treat yourself with respect and love and everybody else. And the last step, number 6, spiritual community. Somebody may say, well, I done left the church and I don't want to do the church and blah, 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 blah. That's okay. I understand that. I respect that. But there's a power in community. Spiritual community. Surround yourself with a supportive spiritual community that encourages and uplifts you, that shares your journey, that you can share your journey with, and that they share their journey with you, with like-minded people, individuals who are also embracing Christ consciousness. When you leave your spiritual community, you should feel uplifted, encouraged, and empowered to go back home and implement the spiritual principles to transform your life. You should not feel worse than when you went in. If you feel worse and feel self-doubt and self-hate and all of that other loathing, you're in the wrong place, beloved. And you need to find somewhere where you can be uplifted and encouraged. By incorporating these practices into your daily life, you will gradually shift your consciousness from sin to self-worth, from fear to love, and from separation to unity. I want to thank each of you for joining me on this journey of exploration and transformation. I hope this episode of Divine Discussions podcast has provided you with valuable insights into the concepts of sin consciousness and Christ consciousness, and how embracing Christ consciousness, the latter, can lead to a profound shift in your life. Remember, you are a divine being of love and light, worthy of all goodness that life has to offer. Embrace your inherent divinity and live from a place of love, compassion, and inner peace. If you've enjoyed this episode, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the like button. Heart it. Let us know that you enjoyed it. And subscribe to and follow us to this Divine Discussion with Chief Apostle Veronica Yisrael podcast. You'll be notified of all new features, episodes, and updates. Remember to share it with your friends and with your family and your neighbors, your coworker, and leave us a review. Your support helps us to reach more people and spread the truth and the message of love and unity. If you found value in this session today and wish to support our mission of spreading love, faith, and truth and freedom, I invite you to consider making a financial contribution. Your support helps us to continue to provide high quality content, reach more people, and create a safe space for healing and growth. We deeply appreciate any support you can provide, whether financially or otherwise. Your generosity enables us to continue offering these sessions and expand our reach to help more people on their spiritual journey. The Cash App is capital VSY lowercase ISRAEL 2021. It is pinned in the comments section, and for those who will be watching on YouTube, it will be right above my head. Personally, I'm so incredibly grateful for each and every one of you. Your support means the world to me in this Divine Discussions community. Together, we are creating a space of love and healing. If you enjoyed this session, please follow me on all social media platforms at Chief Apostle Veronica Israel. for more content on personal development and spiritual growth. Also, feel free to share this video again with anyone who might benefit from it. Until next time, I love you all. As always, remember, the presence of God in me loves the presence of God in you. The presence of God in me blesses the presence of God in you. Peace be with you until next time. Keep shining. And this has been Divine Discussion with your host, Chief Apostle Veronica Yisrael. Stay blessed and keep shining your light. Namaskar. Peace be with you.